You had a lot of people in that group that were there to innocently protest, and very legally protest, because, you know, I don't know if you know, they had a permit. The other group didn't have a permit. So I only tell you this, there are two sides to a story.
That was number 45 on yesterday, defending white supremacist groups he condemned on Monday and pretty much putting the blame for the violence in Charlottesville on counter-protesters. Here's more of the stunning and disgraceful news conference by number 45. We begin with him lying about everything, defending his Saturday statements, saying he didn't have all the facts, which has never stopped him before.
The statement I made on Saturday, the first statement, was a fine statement, but you don't make statements that direct unless you know the fact. It takes a little while to get the facts. You still don't know the facts. And it's a very, very important process to me, and it's a very important statement. So I don't want to go quickly and just make a statement for the sake of making a political statement. I want to know the facts. In fact, everybody said his statement was beautiful. If he would have made it sooner, that would have been good. I couldn't have made it sooner because I didn't know all of the facts. Frankly, people still don't know all of the facts. What about the alt-left that came charging at the, as you say, the alt-right? Do they have any semblance of guilt?
This is
let me ask you this. What about the fact they came charging with clubs in their hands, swinging clubs? Do they have any problem? I think they do. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, that was a horrible, horrible day. Wait a minute. I'm not finished. I'm not finished, fake news. I will tell you something. I watched those very closely, much more closely than you people watched it. And you have, you had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent. And nobody wants to say that, but I'll say it right now. You had a group on the other side that came charging in without a permit, and they were very, very violent.
Reporters asked Trump if the neo-Nazis and those protesting against them are on the same moral plane. He says they were very fine people on both sides.
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And if you reported it accurately, you would say you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. There were people in that rally, and I looked the night before. If you look, there were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. I'm sure in that group there were some bad ones. The following day it looked like they had some rough, bad people, neo-Nazis, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them.
Stunning. On his left is an Asian woman, the wife of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. On his right is Steve Mnuchin, a man who is Jewish, as they stood there and watched this man defend neo-Nazis. The Friday night march was nothing like Trump described. Here's a clip from HBO's Vice News, which was inside of these white supremacists.
Jews will not replace us! Blood and soil! Whose streets? Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets!
Again, Jews will not replace us. Who was standing to the right of Donald Trump? A Jewish man. Trump was asked if all the controversy was hurting race relations in America. He said relations are getting better.
I think they've gotten better or the same. Look, they've been frayed for a long time, and you can ask President Obama about that because he'd make speeches about it. But I believe that the fact that I brought in, it will be soon, millions of jobs. You see where companies are moving back into our country. I think that's going to have a tremendous positive impact on race relations. You know why? It's jobs. What people want now, they want jobs. They want great jobs with good pay. And when they have that, you watch how race relations will be. And I'll tell you, we're spending a lot of money on the inner cities. We're fixing the inner cities. We're doing far more than anybody's done with respect to the inner cities. It's a priority for me.
Trump again encouraged and empowered white supremacists with what he had to say. Former Klansman David Duke responded to yesterday's news conference on Twitter, quote, "Thank you, President Trump, for your honesty and courage to tell the truth about Charlottesville and condemn the leftists in BLM and Antifa." White supremacist leader Richard Spencer tweeted this: "Trump's statement was fair and down to earth. Charlottesville could have been peaceful if police did its job." Republican reaction was swift. House Speaker Paul Ryan tweeted, "We must be clear, white supremacy is repulsive. This bigotry is counter to all this country stands for. There can be no moral ambiguity," but he did not put Trump's name in that tweet. Republican Senator Marco Rubio of Florida did name check Trump. "Mr. President, you can't allow white supremacists to share only part of the blame. They support an idea which cost nation and world so much pain." Congressman Will Hurd, one of 2 black Republicans in the House of Representatives, he's from Texas, said this:
"Apologize, and that racism, bigotry, anti-Semitism of any form is unacceptable, and the leader of the free world should be unambiguous about that." The only black senator in the Senate, Tim Scott, tweeted this: "Our American family deserves conspicuous, determined leadership that stands in the gap for principles of freedom and the pursuit of liberty. Evil lurks in dark places. It is our responsibility to stop violence in its tracks and prosecute it to the fullest extent of the law. From my house to the White House, let's be clear." Again, Senator Tim Scott, the only black United States senator, refused to actually name President Donald Trump. Let's go to our panel. Liz Copeland, founder and president of the Urban Conservative Project. Greg Carr, chair of the Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University. Wendy Osefo, political analyst and professor of education, Johns Hopkins University. Start with you, Liz. What the hell was that?
It was despicable. It's deplorable. And as someone who publicly announced that I voted for this president, people will ask me, well, when is it enough? When will you be, sad about your decision or feel like you made a mistake? And this is the time. And I think there are millions of Republicans who are waking up today and saying that this is not about partisanship. This is not about politics. This is about this man's character and his inability or unwillingness to denounce quickly white supremacists and to categorize them as fine people, quote unquote, or to normalize their behavior because they don't have jobs, or to equate them to anti-fascist movements that may have been violent, but we're talking about people on the alt-right side of that Charlottesville who came out there who want to ethnically cleanse our country. This is severe. This is the state of our democracy is at risk here. And I'm so saddened that he got my votes.
But Greg, we knew this before. Hashtag we tried to tell you. This is a man who exercised racism in the 1970s when it came to the housing units there in New York. This is a man who led the birther conversation, who lied about President Donald Trump, who used that, who pushed racial buttons. This is a man who was despicable in his treatment of women. This is a man who has used race-bait language before. We should not be shocked by yesterday. We should be glad that he finally publicly revealed himself in all his racist glory.
Roland, this morning proves again the value and the importance of NewsOne Now. We're not surprised. Indeed, you did try to tell them. There are 2 stories, I think, from yesterday. One is, it wasn't a dog whistle. This was a primal scream. And it was loud and it was obvious from a man who never wanted to be president, who has been trying to escape that office since he got elected. But the other story, which is larger, and you keep referring to it, is the silence. The silence not only of a political party, but of a cultural impulse in this country that has fed this beast. And now they want to distance themselves from their cousins when, in fact, this is a much larger thing than about neo-Nazis and Confederates. This is about white supremacy, which is a systemic issue. So, Roland, I'm glad you're naming it for what it is this morning. Donald Trump didn't go off the rails yesterday. He was right on point and right on cue. This is exactly who he has been. And his father, even his father is reported to have been arrested at a Nazi rally at the turn of the century. Exactly. This is not, no, there's nothing aberrational about this. This is an opportunity to have another revolution, brother.
Wendy, also, what we saw here, the New York Times was reporting that his staff, they were shocked and stunned that he came out and made these comments publicly that he has been saying privately.
When someone shows you who they are, believe them. And Donald Trump did not go off the rails. America went off the rails when they voted for Donald Trump to go into the White House. This is a reflection of what Americans did who voted for him. What I need us to remember here is that in 2017, on U.S. soil, a woman by the name of Heather Heyer, it's important we say her name because this woman lost her life. This woman was killed by Nazis. It is 2017. We see DeAndre Harris, the young African-American man who was beaten and bludgeoned. What is going on? Donald Trump enables this to happen. This is a reflection of him. The blood of Heather and DeAndre are both on his hands. And as Americans, we need to have honest conversations. We cannot make excuses. And anyone who is tweeting, who is in Congress, who is saying that Donald Trump shouldn't be doing these things, stop tweeting. Tell him you will not pass any legislation. We will not move anything forward if you act like this. And you need to name him. You need to, who are you talking about? Who are you referencing? Say his name. And better yet, at him on Twitter. Let's not play this game.
Heather Heyer is going to be buried today. Donald Trump has yet to call this family, yet to offer condolences. Then he had the audacity to bring up the mom on yesterday. That was even more despicable.
Absolutely. But I mean, but you keep underscoring this point, Roland. And thank you so much, Prof, for making this point again. This is a policy question. Every one of the legislators who tweeted that you named, including Senator Scott, voted to repeal Obamacare.
Yes, they sure
are
did.
standing by silently while that Confederate Attorney General tries to roll back voting rights, and Chris Kobach and his election commission. So it's one thing to tweet. It's one thing to distance yourselves from obvious Nazis. It's another thing to line up policy with this man. And absolutely, Trump doesn't care. He used her mother yesterday as a prop. But that's what he does. What Donald Trump did yesterday, almost 101 years to the day from when Woodrow Wilson threw Monroe Trotter out of the White House, has now extended racism in a way that we haven't seen from the White House since Woodrow Wilson screamed Birth of a Nation in 1916.
Liz, Herbert Hoover was a leader of the Lily White movement. He was a Republican, served as president from 1929 to 1933. This is a president who essentially is walking in the footsteps of Herbert Hoover, who wants a Lily White movement in this White House, in this country.
I have Trump apologists going around the country are saying that he's speaking to his base. He was, he's not a typical politician. He condemned them, even though it was a tepid condemnation, and that he did the things that you would expect from a president. I disagree with that. And as a conservative, I expect more from my party's leader. I mean, we're talking about the party that freed the slaves. We're talking about, Rockefeller Republicans who supported civil rights. There are plenty of people in the Republican Party who are sitting back and watching this and saying, this is not reflective of conservative principles. This is not reflective of what we want to see our country, the direction we want to see our country go in.
So when will they stand up to him? When will they oppose him? And when will they stop supporting white nationalistic policies?
That's right. That's right. That's the question.
I understand the question. I'm not quite sure that they haven't stood up to him.
They haven't.
There have been Republicans who stood up. Senator John McCain stands up to him.
Okay, next.
Sure.
Who he savaged.
Marco Rubio, you just showed his tweet.
No. The same Marco Rubio who chastised him during the campaign, who said he was unfit to be president, but then still endorsed him.
That's right. Yes, he did. And I'm not quite sure if it was a political move or he was being a party loyalist. But there are Republicans who have stood up to him, but it's still not enough.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.